All right, today we're looking at the start of the next topic, so translations of functions. Or so we've already done a bit of translating. So, say for example, um, if I've got a point 1, 2, for example, so that's this point here, then I could translate that, and I'll translate it that way, um, so that it's now here and its coordinates. So it was 1, 2. Oops, and its coordinates are now 3, 2. So we would say that that's a translation. Positive 2, or of 2 in the positive x direction. All right, so we have done this with graphs, although I haven't actually talked to in this way about graphs, but so this is just another way of looking at it. So that translation, so if this here is our original, and this one here is what we call our image, then what we can say is, and for our image, so this is, our original is A, our image we'll call A dash. And so what have we done to get A dashed? So A dashed is 3, 2, which is 1 plus 2 and 2. So what have we done? This plus 2 here is our translation, and this 1 here, well, that's our original. All right, so the way we'd actually write this in terms of the dash is that we'd say that our image, x dashed and y dashed, they're our images. What they would be is x plus 2 in this case, and 2. Now, I'll do the next bit. Whoops, too many pages. All right, so the next bit would be, say, if we had something, let's a point, then let's take our point there. Let's say that's -1 and that's 2. So we've got a point at -1 and 2. And this is our original point. And I'm going to move that point. I'm going to move it up to all the way up to here. So I'm going to move that 1, 2, I'm going to move that up 4. So if I move that up 4, it's gone from -1 and it's now up here at 3. So my image of A is 2 and 3. And so in this case, our image of A, oops, where did I get that -1 and 2 from? It's the other way around, isn't it? Whoops. Let's get rid of those. Let's put it around the right way. 2 and -1. All right, so you notice here that if we take our image then is the 2, and it's -1 plus 4. And see, 4 was my translation here that I did from there. So way we could say that then is that our image is our original x plus 4. All right, so if I kind of mash those two things together, it's not original x, it's a y. Well, it must be getting too late in the day. It's a y. So what we've talked about these in terms is k for that and h for this. So if we've got, say, our original, and then we go to our image, then our original x and our original y to our image, and our image would be our original x plus whatever translation h, and our image of y would be our original y plus our k. All right, so what this we would call, and you could write it in coordinate form, x and y to x dashed y dashed, and x dash y dashed, of course, are x plus h and y plus k. And what we call this is known as a mapping. All right, so we're mapping from our original to our image. So those things with the dashes on them are our images. Now we've done this with graphs. Is what we've done it with. Right, so say for example, I'm just going to use y equals x squared. So here's y equals x squared. Don't need that. And so I might move that, and I might move that to say here. So we'll go across there. And so if I move that and here, and say that that turning point there is say 4 and 1, then what we'll have is we'll have for that blue one, we've translated our y equals x squared. Now there's two different ways that we can go about that. All right, so the different ways. So of course this here down here at the start, the turning point was at 0, 0. All right, so there's two ways we can go about that. We can go about that in the mapping way, and there'll be more on this like next year, but for the moment, what do we know? We know that 0, 0 gets mapped to 4 and 1. So in terms of x and y, our x and y, x plus 4 and y plus 4. And so this is our image, which is the blue one. All right, so the blue one's the image. All right, the blue one's our image. So how can we do that? Well, what we've got to do is we take and we say that, all right, x plus, this is the mapping, plus 4 is x dashed. So if I then take 4 from both sides, I'll get that. And if I do the similar, it's not plus 4 on the end there of that y, there is, it's plus 1. So plus 1. All right, so when we go y plus 1, that's our image. And so if we take 1, not going very well here, it should be y. Image y dash is y dashed minus 1. And so what we do now is we replace the y and we replace the x into there, and when we do that we get y dash minus 1 equals x dash minus 4 squared. And if I move the 1 over, y dashed equals x dashed minus 4 squared plus 1. All right, which is a bit like what we would normally in the past, the equation. So that's kind of is the mapping way. A little bit confusing. Need to know more about that and get onto that next year. But for the moment, just need to be aware that there is this thing called mapping. Now, the way that we would have done it this year, need a page in there. I can't insert a page, I don't think. So, but the way we would have done it this year is we would have. I'll get rid of that. Clear all of that. So the way we would have done it this year is we would have said, all right, when we did. So we've got y equals x squared, and we're then going to shift that across to here, and that turning point is 4 and 1. All right, and so what we would have done is we would have said, all right, it's been shifted across that way 4. So h equals 4, and then we say, all right, then it's been shifted up that way 1, and that's the k equals 1. And so we would said then that the turning point form of our parabola, and there may have been, and I'm just ignoring the minus h squared plus k. And so at the moment I'm just ignoring that there might be an a, and I'm just looking at the translations. So I'm looking at one at this point, just of that form. Okay, we'll get to dilations in a subsequent lesson. So in this time we would have said, well, look, if that's our h and our k for our turning point, then we'd go stick it straight into there. X minus 4 squared plus 1. And then we have our answer. All right. So that's a bit more straightforward, a bit more like what we've been doing so far this year. All right. So the mapping one, is next step on. It's another way of looking at the same thing. Righto. Let's have a look at this example here. So we've got a curve, and we're told that this curve, fx is just another way of writing y. And so we're told that there's that. And so what do we know? So we've got translation, 3 units in the positive x direction. So h is 3. And we got down 2 units. So that means k would be minus 2. All right. So if we wanted to write it as mapping, our mapping would say this, that our image of x is our original x plus 3, and our image of y is our original y take 2. Now, from what we already know that the general form of our fx equals 1 on x, well, it's x minus h and plus your k on the end. So f of x then would be 1 on x minus 3 minus 2 on the end. And so there's our equation of our image. So find the equation for the image of the curve. And so here is our equation of our image based on how we've been doing things this year. Now there's another thing I can say do with this fx. Have a look at this example here. So say for fx equals, let's go with 1 on x again. I want to sketch, say for example, f of x minus 1. So what does that mean? That means take this x minus 1, put it in here. So if we do that, f of x minus 1 is 1 over x minus 1. What do we know about that? Well, we know that that's hyperbola. What do we know about our hyperbola? We've got an asymptote at x equals 1. Down there like so. And then we've also got asymptotes horizontal one. We haven't moved up, so we've got a horizontal one there. And so there the graph looks like that. Now, in the book, they want you to question when you get to the book. They want you to find that intercept. So that should actually be -1 when you substitute x equals 0 into 1 over x minus 1. All right, but I'll leave that for you to do with that. Another sort of question you might be asked is if we've got a point. So we've got a point, say -5 and 6, and find our image after a mapping say 4 units in positive x and 2 units, whoops, can't spell, in negative y. All right, so what do we got? We've got our original, and our original, we've got to map it. And so we've got -5, and so if we're going here 4 units in the positive x direction, so we're moving it to the positive by 4. And then this next one here, 2 units in the negative y, so we're moving it down 2, which then becomes -1 and 4. And that there is our image. All right, and so that's it about the translations. Don't worry too much at this point about that mapping method. We'll do more of it. It takes a little bit of to get the hang of, but as we work through this, we'll get to it. So for now, exercise 7A, questions on your work plan. Work plan. And if you need any assistance with anything, or you weren't sure with stuff that I just said then, make sure you give me